Today, I'm talking about how to prioritize your mental health so that you can create real and sustainable impact. And I'm going to share from a place of experience. I'm going to share from what I know in my own career, through my training in neuroscience as a coach. But most importantly, I'm going to talk about how I want to show up today. And I want to show up as not Chalky the coach or Chalky the founder, but as Chalky the person. And I think what you've all shared, what you're all looking for, and we're talking from the work on the inside out. And if we could all be open with each other, and hopefully some things will resonate with you. So I'm just going to share some screens here. Just give me a moment to get this up and running. Okay. So a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I studied computer applications in Dublin City University. I'm originally from Ireland. I moved to Sydney, Australia in 1999. In 2011, I retrained as a neuroscience coach. And I put those two things together to found the company Cred in 2015. And we work at the intersection of education and technology. And we have a big vision and a big purpose and a big impact we want to create in the world. So we want to enable 3 billion actions by 2030 to support the United Nations global goals for sustainable development while helping people see their personal impact. So, like many of us who are working in the social impact space, we're drawn to it based on a desire, a sense of purpose, a life of service, and maybe it's around legacy, but we want to leave the world in a better place. And it draws us to the space, but it can also be pretty daunting journey. So what I want to share with you is a bit about my personal journey in this. In August 2019, I was preparing for a pitch at a government institute here in Australia. And I was just putting the final touches to the pitch. And I started to lose a sensation of feeling in the left side of my face. And I started to get some pains in my arm. And I thought for a moment I was having a stroke. And I felt these convulsions go through my body, these waves. And I just thought, this is not good. And I'd known someone about my age, I'm 45, who had a stroke about 6 months before, and my mind went into panic mode. So I jumped in an Uber and went up to the local hospital, and these waves just started getting worse in my body. And I started panicking. Oh my God, I'm going to leave my wife, my kids. They're going to have to look after me. I haven't sorted out my life insurance. The company's in a mess. We owe a lot of money. Just all this thoughts of anxiety were going through my body. So I got rushed through into the ER, got hooked up to all the ECG equipment, running a whole bunch of tests on me for a number of hours. And then eventually a doctor came and spoke to me and said, "Are you under any stress or pressure?" And I said, "Where do I start? I'm the founder of a company. We're bootstrapped. We haven't got any funding. And we've been doing this for a number of years. I've blown through family savings. I'm really frustrating and disappointing my wife. I'm not a nice person to be around. I'm shouting at my kids. I'm kind of withdrawing from my friends." And he said, "I think you've just had an acute stress and anxiety attack." And he said, "I recommend you do something about this and you go and speak to someone." So for those of you who are coaches on the line, I said, "Oh, like, I'm a coach. I just go and speak to other coaches." And the doctor said, "No, to a real professional." So he put me back in my box straight away as a coach. So needless to say, I went and saw a psychologist and spent some time with him over a couple of months, just exploring what had led me to get to this point. What were some of my maybe limiting beliefs? What were some of the mistakes I'd made? What were some of the assumptions I'd made? Where had I neglected to look after myself? Where had perhaps my aspiration of impact and change led me to have some blind spots? Or was it perhaps, as someone said, some imposter syndrome that was getting in the way, that was holding me back, and those fears? So what I did over those couple of months was explore with his support what I learned through that process. And I want to share a couple of things with you that I've learned over the last number of months, and it's been almost 2 years. So the first thing is, I've learned that to create impact is the relentless execution of ordinary things. There's no secret sauce. I think many of us try and do great things and think we're just going to do one big thing, or we're going to have one big deal or one big client, or we're going to build this new feature and everything's going to turn out, or we're going to scale and grow from there. But what I've learned is, just by doing small things every day, repeated over time, is what actually creates the real impact, the real change in your business, the real success in your business and your life. I also reflected on what was my expectations versus the reality. So we go into business and we think we're going to do great things and we're going to scale and we're going to change the world. And I know, particularly for people who are younger, there's an expectation that, if you haven't changed the world when you're 21 or 22, you've been somewhat a failure or not successful. And we're surrounded by success. We just see companies that are unicorns, the companies that are doing amazing things. And we're never really given a sense of what's real. Things go wrong, things take time. And the reality of starting a company or creating impact is that you spend many nights just staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out, how are you going to pay someone? How are you going to get that next client? And there's many sleepless nights. So I think my experience here and my insight was to don't try and follow other people's view of what success is. Or if you're in an industry that is around creating social impact, it is potentially going to take longer. And we are running a different race. I spent some time thinking about the thinking and action mistakes I made as a founder. And one of the things, I don't know if this resonates, but I hate conflict. I put off a lot of difficult conversations internally. If there was things that needed to be sorted out, I didn't have those crucial conversations. And I avoided them to my personal detriment. I kind of thought, if I just forget about it, it'll go away, it'll all work out. And in reality, that's not true. I also thought that I was actually bulletproof. I've always succeeded in everything I put my hand to. And when I was younger, I wanted to get my pilot's license. I did that, tick the box. Bit older, I wanted to do a triathlon Ironman. Did that. Got married. Had a 6-month honeymoon in South America and North America. Did that. So I've always been prepared to work hard, but I was never prepared for the length of time it would take to actually build a company or create impact. I used alcohol as a stress reliever. I numbed some of the pain. I avoided some of the difficult conversations and the realities. And I kind of escaped reality by using alcohol to just mask some of the pain. I also believed I would see success quickly. I thought, as I mentioned earlier on, around the expectation that we would do well relatively quickly. For those of you who work in the entrepreneurship space or the startup space, there's so much noise. There's a whole ecosystem, a whole cottage industry living around it. And I got caught up with it in the space, and I lost focus myself. And finally, I prioritized work over self-care, family, and friends, and I withdrew socially. I also saw that no one goes into these things thinking they're going to burn out. There's a saying around 50% of founders experience a mental health and well-being issue. And if there's 2 founders in a company, you're looking at each other saying, it's not going to be me, it's going to be you. So it does happen. So my challenge to you and my ask of you is that you Start to notice the early warning signs so you can actually notice if you are socially withdrawing, if you are maybe eating a bit more or not sleeping or drinking more, or doing something that's kind of maybe is an indicator that you help try and break the cycle. It's one of my favorite slides I use in my neuro leadership work with people working with leaders I coach. As we move up in our career, the green arrow represents the less the need for our technical skills and the more need for self and social awareness. So are we self-aware of how we're showing up? Are we reacting to people in situations? Is our stress and anxiety or sense of overwhelm? Are we showing up or bringing that energy into conversations? And maybe are we triggering other people? So that's where the need is, but our capacity for self and social awareness goes down because we're often so busy, we're so overwhelmed, we're so anxious. So trying to bridge the gap is the challenge for us all. So I want to share some of the things I did well. I surrounded myself with good people. I built that network. I've got this saying about these lanes in my life of people who've got my back or in my corner. I really tried to break down a sense of overwhelm by trying to do small things and do them well. I built in reflection into my day just to notice, recognize some of the wins, see some of the things, the learnings. I'm sure we're all very familiar with elements of growth mindset, etc. I think one of the things we did well was we kept that sense of belief, moving forward. We celebrated the wins. We helped our team and our customers keep believing in what we were trying to do. And I changed my own mindset myself. I treated myself like a startup, like I was trying to run mini experiments and learn and move forward in the same way. So this has led us to bring into a number of guiding principles or things that we believe in Cred. So we believe self-care is not selfish. We need to put our own oxygen mask on first. It's one of the themes of this presentation, and it's one thing I'm going to leave you with later on. That if you take one thing from this conversation, it's the need to put your own oxygen mask on first. We also know that change takes time. If we're in the space of impact, we're playing the long game, and it should be all of our goals to help people create sustainable habits. We also know that small actions every day creates compounding impact. We all appreciate how compound interest works in finance. So let's apply the same principle to our work and our impact. And we do believe that through community, you need to surround yourself with the right people. And I'm sure it probably all resonates to anyone who's drawn to this impact space. Doing for others, your community, and the planet is good for you. The science shows it. So I know you're going to go into breakout rooms shortly, and I'll stop sharing. We've built this well-being canvas, which is an adaptation of a lean canvas or a business model canvas. And I'm curious for you to explore with your coaches in the room some of those questions. First of all, starting with, what actually are you doing well? Recognize some of the things that you have got in place, some of the foundations. And then think about, are some thinking and action mistakes you make? You've seen some of the ones I've made. I'm sure there's ones that are personal to you. And think about, how do you sabotage yourself? Do you set unrealistic expectations? Do you maybe eat late at night or have a sneaky glass of wine late at night or whatever that is? Do you know your early warning signs? And what accountability do you need to help you create some of this change? And what are you giving people permission to call you on? If you maybe become irritable, or if a friend knows you're withdrawing socially. I'd also encourage you to think about, who do you actually have in your corner? Who's cheering on your success? There's so many people who are willing your success and supporting your success. Think about who you can put around you to help you stay the course. Asking for help is really difficult. So I invite you to think about, who is it that you actually can ask for help? When you've had some of these insights, think about, how are you actually going to create implementation intention around these things? How are you actually going to start to take action and build sustainable habits? So my hope is that that has resonated with you and it's been helpful for you. And I think it starts from a place of vulnerability. I think if we're all open, we can all take off our masks and show up as who we really are. I think we actually can all create great impact in the world. So thank you.